Welcome, everyone, to our Selection Sunday special here on Fox Sports Radio Wisconsin. Dave Gasper here, along with Nick Bruesewitz. We've been your hosts on the J&K Security Solutions basketball postgame show all season long on 1310 WIBA. And now we have finally reached the moment of truth, Selection Sunday. It is here. The bracket is going to be revealed here on CBS momentarily as we go along. So we are going to be here reacting to what happens, where the Wisconsin Badgers get placed, where they are seated, who their opponent is, and what we can look forward to in the week ahead, because this is one of the best weeks of the year, Nick. We got so much basketball coming up ahead. The Wisconsin Badgers, so much excitement about this team. They're running the Big Ten tournament. They're run here to end the season, what they've done against top 10 teams. I know you are just as excited as I am for where this team is going to be placed and what they can do here in March.
Absolutely. And you look at what happened today, it just speaks to the quality of team that the Badgers have seen recently, right? They beat that Purdue team down a man without Nolan Winter to end the regular season. Mm-hmm. And today, Purdue really handled Michigan, who many believe to be the front runner in this conference easily. They win the regular season title. They don't win the postseason tournament, as Purdue pulled it out today. But like, had the Badgers won yesterday, they would have faced a Purdue team that was playing out of their minds, right? So, there was a little bit of frustration and sadness on my end yesterday, and maybe I dodged a bullet, because I do think that had Purdue played the way that they did today against a Badgers team that was on their fourth consecutive day of playing basketball, it could have been trouble for us. But yeah, no doubt, fired up as these regions start coming in.
Yeah, we are starting in the East region. Duke gets the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. We have our first Big Ten team off the board. Ohio State gets an 8 seed in this region. And also we are down to the 5 seed here, which is where we're projecting Wisconsin to be around. But St. John's gets the 5 seed in the East region, as they are excited there. And they're going to be taking on Northern Iowa in San Diego. So that's going to be quite the first round matchup in the East region. So just looking at the bracketology for this Badger squad, obviously some of the best wins in the country that they have had. A win on the road at Michigan, a win on the road at Illinois, a win on the road at Michigan State. Or no, they had home against Michigan State, went on the road at Purdue. And then the wins in the Big Ten tournament, beating Illinois again. Certainly some great top 10 wins on the resume here for Greg Gard's squad, and that has pushed them up the seed line. Some have the Badgers as a 6 seed. Most have had the Badgers as a 5 seed. And Nick, that does kind of put them on that line where there are a lot of upsets that are picked on that 5-12 matchup. You're getting some of the best of the automatic bids from the lower conferences and the mid-majors.
Yeah.
As we now see another Big Ten team go off the board, Michigan State, a 3 seed in the East region. They're going to be playing in Buffalo there. So Michigan State, they lost their first round game in the Big Ten tournament. But the Badgers kind of sitting around that 5-6 line.
Absolutely. And I saw some recent projections that Wisconsin would be the 4 and Kansas would be the 5, or Kansas would be the 4, and the Badgers would be the 5 in the same region. I was not in love with the idea of Darren Peterson coming out playing well in the way that we know he can when he's healthy. And maybe for those that are worried about him or not playing, right, that would have been a matchup I didn't want. And they end up being here in this East region. So that's a win. Michigan State in the East region, as it fill it up with Big Ten teams, as UCLA's now been announced in that East region. You have Ohio State, Michigan State, and UCLA. The Badgers are, I believe, a 5. We'll see as this plays out. But I'm happy to have avoided Kansas. I think that would have been a tough matchup. You don't want to see Bill Self in this tournament.
Certainly. Yeah, that's one of the guys you certainly don't want to end up facing. But it is we are going through the East bracket here. UConn ends up as a 2 seed in that East region. Another guy you kind of don't necessarily want to face when it comes to March with UConn over there. But they're at the 2 seed in the East region, taking on Furman. Furman had that big upset a couple of years ago. Looking at a couple of bracket projections here, looking at Mike DeCourcy's from Fox Sports. He has Wisconsin as a 5 seed, taking on McNeese State in the South Regional. ESPN's bracketology that they've been putting out with Joe Lunardi has Wisconsin in the West Regional, as a 5 seed, playing McNeese State is their projection, and those games would be in Tampa. Despite being the West Regional, their first round games will be in Tampa. Interesting. But that's a projection there. And CBS Sports projecting, again, Wisconsin as a 5 seed in the East Regional, which did not happen. But against the Akron Zips would be the projection there. So, yeah, you're getting some of these top mid-major schools is the likelihood here. Northern Iowa, not one of them. They are the 12 seed in the East region that St. John's will be facing. But looking at the bracket matrix, some of your other potential 12 seeds, Akron, McNeese State, Yale was listed on here, but Nick, Yale lost the Ivy League championship game today, so they are not going to be dancing.
In all likelihood, right? I mean, unless there's something extraordinary that happens. But yeah, absolutely. Fran McCaffrey gets his 5th different program into the tournament. But this East region, as it has played out, holy cow. And maybe it's just for naive Nick, classic naive Nick, it feels incredibly strong. Like, UConn is
Louisville and South Florida is a 6-11.
Right. Yeah. And you got Duke, UConn, Michigan State, Kansas. Like, goodness gracious.
That's a lot of blue bloods.
Those are incredible programs or incredible coaches with great teams, and Rick Pitino. I mean, in St. John's, your 1 through 5 in the East is pretty strong. Happy to have potentially avoided that path for Wisconsin.
Yeah, certainly. As the East region is complete, as CBS continues to announce, and they will go region by region. We are still awaiting where the Wisconsin Badgers will be placed in this bracket. Again, projected to be around a 5 seed, one of the strongest resumes in terms of impressive wins that you can have across the season. And really, when it came down to it yesterday, too, even though the Badgers lost yesterday in the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament, the fact that it came down to essentially a buzzer beater at the end for Michigan to win and take down Wisconsin came this close to being able to beat what will be a number 1 seed in Michigan twice in a season. Michigan just had their 3rd loss of the season today. If Wisconsin had won yesterday, 2 of their 3 losses would have been to Wisconsin.
And that's the thing. And today, Wisconsin just beat the Purdue team that beat Michigan. So there's no question about the Badgers being able to stack up with anybody in the Big Ten. It's just a matter of now looking at other conferences. And the games earlier this season where the Badgers were tested in non-conference really talented play wasn't as successful. I mean, Villanova was a loss. BYU was a blowout loss. They lost to TCU in the early season tournament. Like these are games that the Badgers are now going to have to kind of overcome here in the national tournament, right? Exercise those demons that, the Badgers were able to be one of those demons that Michigan kind of conquered yesterday, having only had 2 losses prior to today's matchup. The Wolverines were able to beat the Badgers, one of those 2 previous losses yesterday. So the Badgers are going to have a similar opportunity here now. Prove that it's not just Big Ten play familiarity that lends towards being in a position to win these ranked matchups that you had this season, and prove moving forward you got a chance to get some more dubs against more programs that are outside of your conference.
Yeah, that's certainly the big part there to have that resume. And for Wisconsin, just being able to, have that resume and to be able to get Nolan Winter back for this tournament, I think is such a crucial part here. As we do have the East region graphic ready now, just kind of being able to pull through and can pull all these guys up here. So you got Duke, Siena, Ohio State, TCU, St. John's, Northern Iowa, Kansas, and Cal Baptist, Louisville, South Florida, Michigan State, North Dakota State, UCLA, UCF, and UConn and Furman. Again, as you mentioned, a very loaded bracket, loaded region here. Where do you see the best spot for an upset in this region, Nick?
Well, that's a great question. I think that you have to identify some of the more familiar teams to us, so I can point towards what I see in terms of Ohio State and UCLA as programs that can be really anemic at times offensively. And the concern with UCLA has been finding that consistent stroke this year. So maybe it's as boring as it gets, but I would look at UCF as the most likely upset as the 10 versus the 7. I just think that these top 5 seeds in particular are potentially some of which underseeded. St. John's just won the Big East title. I think that is unfortunate that they're at a 5. I think that it's just a product of those teams that are above them in the AP standings that put them in a position where they're a 5. Kansas is a great team. I think when healthy and fully committed, questions exist there. They're a really good group, and you're not going to get the 15, the 14, or the 16 winning. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen.
Probably not, no. But stranger things have happened in the month of March, that is for sure, as now CBS is moving on to the West region, where Arizona is the top seed over there. And they're going to be taking on LIU, fins up over there, taking on them in San Diego. And there is Wisconsin. Wisconsin, the 5 seed in the West region. They will be playing in Portland, Oregon on Thursday. So they're going to have a trip out there to take on High Point, the 30-4 High Point team there, as they are celebrating that they have made the tournament. So the Wisconsin Badgers will be playing on Thursday as the 5 seed against High Point, private university in High Point, North Carolina. And Nick, they've got quite the record there, 30-4, right, although they are a mid-major, but they won the Big South with a 91-76 victory over Winthrop in the Big South tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. The Badgers are going to get a talented team. That's just the product of being a 5 seed. If they were going to be a 5, which I think we're all pretty satisfied with, you're going to get the 12, and High Point's one of those teams that, you look at and you consider their record, you have to take them seriously.
Yeah, and the 4 seed over there as well in Portland is going to be Arkansas. John Calipari's group is going to be out there as well. So that is going to make for potentially a very strong second-round matchup with Wisconsin if they get the win against High Point for them to take on potentially the Arkansas Razorbacks, who had quite the game in the SEC championship game as well. But just looking at this group from High Point that the Badgers are going to be taking on, it is, let's see, just looking at the team, 3-point percentage, they shoot about 35% from 3. They average making 9 3-pointers per game. The Badgers have been averaging around 10. So this is another team that's going to shoot the 3 ball quite a bit here, Nick. And that's what's going to be big story of the game here.
Absolutely. And we're going to be looking specifically at our 2 guards and circling them as the main cog, the main reason as to why Wisconsin can be successful in this tournament. And High Point's going to do everything they can to shut them down. So it really becomes crucial if you can get Nolan Winter back in this game, because he's going to be an X factor, I think. I think that it's really hard to look at what the Badgers have done recently, look at recent game film if you're High Point, and say this is exactly how they're going to attack us, because Nolan Winter has not been out there. So yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to be this guy, and I hate that this could absolutely bite me. Arkansas in the round of 32, if Wisconsin is fortunate enough to get there, that's a tough draw, man. I mean, Acuff is playing as good as anyone in the country. He might very well be the number 1 pick in this year's NBA draft. Arkansas just won the SEC title. It is a really tough draw, and a 4 seed is always going to be a great team. But I had wrapped my head around the potential of it being Alabama yesterday, and I was satisfied with the potential of seeing Alabama. This is a tough one because this is Calipari. He is known for 2 things: being a great coach and also falling short in this particular tournament. So let's just hope that he does it again, that his reputation continues to be reality.
Yeah, Arkansas will be taking on the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii in that first round as well. Hawaii back in the tournament for the first time in a long time. But should Wisconsin get through to the Sweet 16, which has been the main point here that we want to see the Badgers take on, they'll likely be facing Arizona here in the West region. And also after that, Purdue is the 2 seed in this West region as well. So you could potentially see Purdue again, provided the Badgers are able to advance far enough to get there. But just looking at High Point here, the High Point Panthers that the Badgers will be taking on, they've got a couple of forwards here that are big parts of their offense. Terry Anderson is their top scorer, averages 16 points per game with 6 rebounds as well. Cameron Fletcher, forward, averages 12 points per game and 7 rebounds per. So going to be very important to have Nolan Winter back in the paint to take on those 2 guys. And then their top scoring guard, Rob Martin, averages 15.3 points per game. And they've got a sharpshooter from 3 as well. Owen Aquino, he's listed as a forward, but he's shooting 45% from 3 on the year, averages 9 points per game. So they're very much going to be someone to watch out for here because it's a lot about 3-point shooting. It's a lot about the guard play. But they've got 2 forwards that are a big piece of their offense that Nolan Winter, coming back from an ankle injury, is going to have his hands full with.
And for what it's worth, High Point ranks 92nd in KenPom. Wisconsin comes into the tournament at 22. So, obvious discrepancy there. You're a 5-12 matchup, but it'll be interesting to see how the other 12s shake out in terms of where they stack up in RPI, in KenPom, and different things like that. But, this is going to be a team that wins with offense, the Badgers are. And that's exactly what High Point has been doing this season. 90 points per game, which is incredible. High Point's playing in a lesser conference, of course. But their offensive rating is a 124.5, which is 3rd nationally. So High Point is a high-octane offense. And the Badgers are comfortable with that type of game. I think that my argument would be you'd prefer to be playing in a game against a team that plays similar to you than a team that plays maybe the polar opposite. I would rather see a High Point team that is averaging 90 points per game than a High Point team that holds their opponents to 58 points per game. Like this is a team that's going to play up and down the court. Pace is what the Badgers have been good at. This is exactly what High Point's going to attack you with. They're a great 3-point shooting team. You've mentioned some of these things already, but to put numbers to what you've highlighted, they're making 9.2 threes per game. That's a healthy figure for High Point. So we'll see how the Badgers can attack them on the season. High Point allows their opponents to score just over 70 points a game. For what it's worth, it's a whole different beast playing in the Big Ten than it is in their conference. So, I mean, you look at this one, I feel a lot more comfortable as it stands now than a couple years ago when they drew James Madison.
Yeah, absolutely. That one was certainly a tough draw. Let's throw the whole let's show the whole West region here. Arizona, LIU, fins up. We'll see if they can take down the Arizona Wildcats here. They've had a phenomenal season as well. And then the winner there, Villanova, Utah State. That should be a fantastic matchup as well. Villanova not quite at the heights that they used to be back when they had Jay Wright. It's been a kind of a downtrodden couple of years for them, but still back in the tournament here. And then obviously Wisconsin, High Point, and Arkansas, Hawaii, BYU, and then you get Texas, NC State as a play-in game. That play-in game is going to be on Tuesday since they're playing on Thursday. Gonzaga, Kennesaw State as a 3-14. Miami, Florida, not Miami, Ohio, and Missouri playing there on Friday, and then Purdue and Queens playing there as a 2-15 as well. And see, I think this is also important, Nick, to just kind of look at this. The Badgers are playing on Thursday. If the Badgers had played today in the Big Ten tournament and they still ended up playing on Thursday, they still ended up in that same seed or same region here, that would have been a really, really tough draw. So getting that extra day of rest today, I know you were hurt a little bit by not winning the Big Ten tournament, but getting that extra day of rest now that they're playing on Thursday could be a massive win for them.
Well, you know what hurts worse? Losing and your season being over. So if this is going to prevent them from having an early exit in this tournament, I can get over the hurt from yesterday and move forward. I again, looking at this group, this feels like a softer path than what we just saw in the East. If the Badgers are fortunate enough to make a run to the Final Four, there's a lot of familiarity in this particular portion of the bracket. You see Villanova, if they're good enough to win against Utah State and pull off the upset against Arizona. I'm sorry, LIU, fins down, in my opinion. That one's just over. It's not going to happen. 16 seeds don't win. UMBC's back in it, so maybe that brings some of that magic with them. But I just don't see that one as a possibility. So Villanova is a familiar team. The Badgers having lost to them earlier this season. Purdue is the 2 seed. Obviously, we know the familiarity there. And BYU. If Wisconsin gets another crack at BYU, it'd be really interesting to see how the two stack up. You would have assumed when they played earlier this season that had they ended up in the same region, there would be a 0% chance Wisconsin is the higher seed. But BYU has a great talent in AJ Bedanza, but they just clearly didn't put it together. Richie Saunders suffering the season-ending injury for them. That's a tough loss. If we do get to see BYU without Richie Saunders, I will be very grateful because he has been a Badger killer. But this is it. This is the time of year where I can't be afraid of anyone. I think the Badgers have proved that they can play with anyone. It's just a matter of now grasping their potential and using it and stepping up here on the big stage.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're going to have to take that chance. They're going to have to be able to do it. As Spencer here points out in the comments, High Point makes me nervous. And honestly, Spencer, I don't blame you. Certainly the 5-12 matchups always make you nervous. As great as it sounds like you're moving up the seed line to a 5, that means you're getting one of the better mid-major teams and a team with a great record that has done a lot of winning throughout the season. So yeah, I think the way these two teams match up, it certainly could be a tough draw, but Wisconsin has been playing well of late, even without Nolan Winter. Getting Nolan Winter back, I think should only make them even better as now the Midwest region is getting revealed. Michigan, the number 1 seed there, which is not really a surprise at all. Despite them losing the Big Ten Tournament Championship to Purdue here today. But they got Alabama in that region as well. And Michigan, tough draw. They're playing on Thursday as well, despite playing today in the Big Ten Tournament Championship game. So that's not going to be quite as fun on the turnaround.
But they'll get one of the teams playing to play them, right? So I think it was UMBC. It just
and Howard.
On my screen, and Howard. So you're talking about 2 teams that have already played a game, then gotten a day of rest, and then played. Don't get me wrong. This could have been the reality for the Badgers. They could have played today and lost and had short rest. We've seen that before. We saw exactly what happened last year when that happened. And the year before. So you really have to circle some of what the Badgers have in their particular region as a benefit, as a plus. Badgers dodge some level of bullet, in my opinion. High Point plays just like Wisconsin. I mean, they are a smaller conference, Big Sky Conference equivalent of what Wisconsin does in the Big Ten. Big South, excuse me, Big Sky, Big South, big everything. I mean, Big Ten. It's just everything's big. Everything's big. It's big, big, big. And
everything's bigger in Texas. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's true.
It absolutely is. So yeah, the way that they play the game, I mean, it's how they've had to be successful. It's how Wisconsin has to be successful, and having a high scoring game that does make me feel good, because whenever the Badgers score 78 plus points, they are undefeated on the season. They are 23-0 when they score 78 points or more. And when they score less than that, they are 1-10 on the season. But I've got a feeling, Nick, I've got a prediction. I'm not necessarily saying this is going to be in the first round, but at some point in this tournament, because I'm not going to necessarily come out and say, oh, yeah, the Badgers are going to win it all like right out of the gate. As much as I would love to see it, I'm not going to throw a guarantee on that. But what I will say is this. If the Badgers do lose in the NCAA tournament, my guess is they are going to score 78 or more points in that game. And it will be their only loss of the season where they score 78 or more, and it will come in the NCAA tournament. That's my prediction. They have gone all year whenever they score 78, it's automatic. And when it gets to the tournament, I just got a feeling that they're going to score more than 78 and still come up short in that game and get sent home. Do you think I'm too off base here?
Well, I'd love to see them go down fighting. If your expectation, if your hypothetical comes to fruition, that would mean that they performed well enough, and in all likelihood, probably weren't outscored like 100-79. It'd be like, 85-79. Like, it's going to be a competitive, high-scoring game, and I'd hope that if they're on the wrong end of that, it would be against a group like Arkansas. Worst case scenario, but certainly in the second weekend, if they find their way there, taking on the 1 seed and losing to Arizona would be okay. Badgers have a lot of familiarity, like not to mention just this season, but some of these programs in their individual region. Arizona's that is a historic matchup in this particular tournament for Wisconsin, having beaten them back-to-back years in their trips to the Final Four and national championship. Like, Wisconsin's got every opportunity if they play as well as we've seen them play. I hope we look back and we laugh at the fact that some of us are worried about High Point, because I think if we weren't burned a couple times in the last few seasons in these matchups, we wouldn't be worried. And I think High Point scores a lot of points, but it's a whole different beast going against the Badgers, who have gotten better and better as the season has gone on defensively. They just held Michigan down big time.
Yeah, but as we've also seen sometimes throughout the year with the Badgers, they do kind of play to the level of their competition. So if they view someone as kind of a lesser competition, they struggled with Washington the other day. They lost to Oregon not too long ago. So they do have that history with this team as well, which is why, despite all their top 10 wins, they are not ranked higher, that they are not a higher seed, because they've had a couple of those losses on their resume as well. So you can't look past it. Certainly, I think you got to be worried about it, because this is the only game that you're guaranteed. You're not guaranteed to face Arkansas, because if you don't beat High Point, you're not going to face them. It doesn't matter. You're off back home on the couch. So that is the concern that I have, because as great as they have played, as much as they can play up to the level of competition, like if they take on Arkansas or Arizona, I'm not really worried about the Badgers showing up for a game like that. But when it's a game against a 12 seed and you're thinking, oh man, we should easily beat these guys. And, there is that thought of maybe they played to that level of competition a little bit, and High Point could beat them if that ends up being the case.
Yeah, I think that in comparison to what happened 2 years ago against James Madison and what's the reality of this group now, it's just that there is no question that their offense is going to find a way to wake up. It's just a matter of holding down High Point long enough until that moment happens. Wisconsin was not effective yesterday for a great length of the game until Austin Rapp woke up and was unconscious. And you can tell me they were on their third day on tired legs in a row playing basketball without Nolan Winter. And then you rationalize that in your brain, and then you're like, well, even in that case, they held down a Michigan offense that is one of the best in the country, and outside of Adai Mara really neutralized them. So I'm fairly confident the Badgers are going to be competitive and maybe have themselves an easy W if they play up to what they know they can. It's just a matter of making that happen. High Point's a really good team. I don't think they're going to look past them and consider them lesser competition. I think that High Point's going to punch you in the mouth early. You listed a series of their players earlier. They're a really old group. They got graduate seniors on their team. They got seniors. They got a ton of guys who are playing for potentially the last time in their career if they were to lose. So there will be urgency on the other side. Badgers are going to have to wake up and get going early, and I think it's helpful to have an igniter like Nick Boyd.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Looking at High Point's schedule, they have not lost since January 14th. It has been a full 2 months since they've lost. So, yeah, they're due. I love that. All right. I love that. I mean, 30-4 in the season, they haven't had a ton of losses. They've lost to UAB, Southern Illinois by 2, and then they lost to Appalachian State in overtime. Other than that, it's been a lot of wins here, including some blowouts here as well. 104-49 over Gardner Webb. Granted, it's Gardner Webb, but still, just looking at their Big South schedule, they don't really have it. I mean, they did play and beat Furman, who is also in the NCAA tournament here. There's not a lot of other tournament teams in here. But Still, they have not lost in 2 months. Okay, so the Midwest region is done. Let's take a look at that graphic. Michigan leading that group. UMBC, who was a 16 seed a few years ago, and they took down a number one. So maybe that could be possible again. They'll have to get through Howard in the first four. Georgia, St. Louis, Texas Tech, Akron, Alabama, Hofstra, Tennessee, and then, oh, look at that. Miami, Ohio does make it in to the NCAA tournament. They went undefeated in the regular season, and yet when they got to their conference tournament, when they got to the MAC tournament, they lost their first game to UMass, and they put themselves in dangerous position here to miss the tournament, but they end up making it as a play-in, so they will be in the first four in Dayton on Wednesday, and their first round game, if they win that, will be on Friday. Virginia, Wright State, Kentucky, Santa Clara, and Iowa State, Tennessee State to round out the Midwest region there. As now the South region is getting revealed by CBS here as well, with Florida getting the top seed over there, taking on the winner of Prairie View, A&M, and Lehigh. We have another Big Ten team has made the group. Iowa has made the tournament as a 9 seed. They will be playing Clemson in Tampa, Florida. Then on Thursday, we got Vanderbilt and McNeese State as the 5-12 in the South region, and now Nebraska from the Big Ten has made it as a 4 seed in this final region here. So Nebraska, Connor Sejan on that group, I believe he's out for the year with an injury, but That's still right. Nebraska had a great start to the year, and they've had a strong season, 26-6, and they end up as a 4 seed here.
Yeah, I got to wonder how satisfied Troy is right now. This is the weakest 4 seed in my mind. Nebraska is a team that came out of the gates hot, but has faded down the stretch, have not necessarily impressed for a while now. Troy's going to have every opportunity. If there's going to be a shock upset, in my opinion, that a Big Ten team is on the wrong end of, it's Troy over Nebraska. And I don't think there's going to be another one that's going to strike me as obviously as an upset potential out of the Big Ten coming up in the next couple of days here.
All right, there we go. I like that. Seeing Nebraska go down early on there.
Well, I don't think they've won a tournament game ever, so I feel bad if they get it as a 4 seed and they lose to Troy, and they will still never have won a national tournament game. It's a shame, but I just think they faded in such a dramatic fashion here. Like, they have not shown anything in a while that makes me think that they're the team that dominated Wisconsin earlier this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a different part of the year, and that's the whole thing. You got to be playing your best ball in March, and the Badgers certainly have been. I mean, Nebraska, they lost early there in the Big Ten tournament. Another Big Ten team, Illinois, comes in as the 3 seed in the South region. They will face Ivy League winners Penn on Thursday in Greenville, South Carolina. So Illinois, a team the Badgers beat twice, is a 3 seed. And the Badgers are a 5, but they will be taking on the Ivy Leaguers from Penn. That should be a fun matchup. The Ivy League, for whatever reason, almost every single year, they seem to be a dangerous threat to upset whoever it is that they're playing.
Yeah, and getting in, I think Penn was a surprise to many. I think that Yale was supposed to be that group, and they fell today in that final. So you see a Penn team that has a lot of familiarity with this tournament through their coach, Fran McCaffrey. But just to finish my roast or my comments on Nebraska, it's not like it's the only thing, but the last time they beat a ranked opponent, and you don't get as many opportunities as you think, was the 2nd of January when they played Michigan State. And they beat them 58-56. So that's a very ugly win. You take your win, certainly a ranked win, but Nebraska has been winning the games they should win and losing the games that are tight or against really talented groups for multiple months now. So they have a lot to prove. I think their coach can get them over the hump in the round that they're going to be entering into against Troy. But it's cool to see this many Big Ten teams, especially when they're seeded higher than the Badgers, and you say, okay, I'm fairly confident if they played again, Wisconsin would beat that team, or they've beaten that team multiple times, Illinois. Or you look at Purdue, who's getting in, and you look at Michigan. I mean, Wisconsin probably beats Michigan, in my opinion. yesterday with Nolan Winter. We talked about it at length. So it's good to see. It's just the unfamiliarity with a team like High Point and the numbers, the gaudy numbers that they put up per game, 90 points per game, strong defense, just over 70 points allowed, knocking down threes. You just hope and you pray that Wisconsin's able to kind of flex their muscles and show, yeah, you like to put up points, but look how much better we are. Look how much more deep we are in terms of talent.
Yeah, certainly. And I did look it up. Nebraska has never won an NCAA tournament game.
That's what I'm saying. So and I'm projecting them. I'm predicting them to lose in the first round in a tragic upset.
Man. Yeah, Big Ten ends up with 9 bids, just behind the SEC with 10 bids. The first 4 out this year: Oklahoma, Auburn, San Diego State, and Indiana. The last 4 in: NC State, Texas, SMU, and Miami, Ohio, was indeed the last team in the tournament. Just incredible for them how they ended up almost completely botching their chance to get in. But at 31-1, even though you're facing the MAC, I mean, that's you got to get them in there and just see what they can do. But yeah, Wisconsin taking on High Point here in the first round, and they are going to be are going to have their hands full, I'm pretty sure. But you got Nolan Winter coming back. Nick Boyd and John Blackwell have been playing incredibly well. This game's going to be on Thursday, and they're going to be all the way out in Portland, Oregon. So if you're planning on going to the games, you're going to have quite the flight across the country. Also, it's going to be very tough to get out there the next couple of days. Looking at the snow coming in, my goodness, what it's hitting in the northern part of the state and what we're going to be getting down here in the southern part of the state too. Oh boy, that's not going to be fun for traveling, but Badgers will have to find a way to get out to Portland, and they're going to be playing on Thursday. I don't believe we have the times yet in terms of when those games will be played. We got Charles here commenting, they got this. Badgers have big runs coming out of the West. That is true. You look back at the history of Badgers runs, and that national championship game was out of the West region, was it not? Nick, I can't hear you.
Yes. I mean,
there he is.
I think so. I think that's a possibility. You can't hear me.
No, yep, nope. There you are. It took you a little bit. You're kind of, yeah, now I got you. All right. But yeah, Wisconsin, they are going to be, Wisconsin is going to be a 5 seed here in the end.
All right, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go to the South region graphic as that is now ready. Just kind of looking at the final region here in the NCAA tournament. Florida as the top seed there. Clemson, Iowa, Vanderbilt, McNeese State, another dangerous team, McNeese right there. Vanderbilt, though, made quite the run to the SEC tournament championship game. Nebraska, Troy, as we've been talking about. North Carolina, VCU. Illinois, Penn as the 3-14, St. Mary's, Texas A&M as a 7-10 matchup, and Houston is a 2 seed taking on the Idaho Vandals. And that game going to be in Oklahoma City. So very, very strong region as well. Florida, Houston, Illinois, and Nebraska as the top seeds there. And yeah, perhaps ripe for an upset with Nebraska, Troy. McNeese, Vanderbilt, also very much a possibility. Penn, potentially over Illinois. I mean, I think there's very good chances here for some upsets here. Even VCU and North Carolina. North Carolina hasn't been quite as good, this past year. So perhaps VCU could take them down. Certainly makes for some very intriguing picks here. So, okay, now that we have the bracket as a whole, Nick, outside of Troy, Nebraska, what are your favorite looks here for some upsets?
I would have to look at it again. I was just fixing up my my microphone. Am I good now? You got me?
Yeah, you're sounding good now.
I had to unplug my external mic and then plug back in my wireless mic and all this different stuff. So I would have to double check here. I'd have to look over the bracket again. I think that when you
boil it down, teams that don't play good defense, teams that don't really attack themselves on the defensive side of the ball as hard as others, are always ripe for an upset because it puts them in a position, if they don't shoot well, that they can't win a game. And Alabama always feels like that team to me in this tournament, and they've gone deep. They've fallen short. I think last year they were an Elite Eight team, and I think that this year they could be put in a spot where they just fell out of the tournament in the SEC because they just did not put up enough points. And I think that they would be put in a spot now where if they're unable to get enough against Hofstra in the first round, that there you go, there's your team, Hofstra. I guess I'm a 13 fan so far here in the tournament because I'm picking 13 seed Troy to upset and beat Nebraska and maybe Hofstra to do so against Alabama and the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, certainly. And I think for me, Akron over Texas Tech, I think is another possibility that I'm going to look at for an upset there in the Midwest region. I'd love to see Miami, Ohio be able to get an upset, get a win over SMU in the play-in game, and then against Tennessee for them to take down a big opponent. I'd love to see them actually do it. You know, with all the talk about them and their record and who they've played and how they haven't played anyone, I'd love to see them actually get a first-round win here and prove, like, hey, look, we can play with the big boys here. So maybe I'll put that in my bracket as well. But certainly a lot of options, a lot of places to look, a lot of places where you can pick your favorite upsets. Gonna be a lot of consternating about that over the next several days as we're all putting our brackets together. All right, Nick. Lastly, here, just kind of wrap things up. Who are you looking at for your Final Four? Who are your favorites for that? Who do you have making it? Do you have Wisconsin in there? Do you have someone else coming through? What are you looking at for your Final Four picks?
I mean, I've been burned by Arizona so many different times, but I just think that they're the most complete team here in the tournament. So Arizona is going to be mine out of the West. I would love for it to be the Badgers. Don't get me wrong. If there's a matchup between the two programs, Arizona and Wisconsin, and I've got Arizona winning in all my brackets, I will still wholeheartedly be rooting for my school, the Wisconsin Badgers. I think Michigan's got a strong path out of the Midwest. I don't necessarily feel impressed by the 2-seed Iowa State or 3-seed Virginia. You know, Virginia plays great defense, but I've already projected Alabama to lose. So far, very vanilla Arizona and Michigan as 1 seeds. I don't think Florida's going to do it. I feel like for some reason, I can never pull for and think that it's going to be a team repeating. We've seen Illinois up close and personal. This is a really, really good team. I'll be a Big Ten homer out of the South, and I'll say Illinois might be my initial group there. Houston's always great, but they have been kind of now recognized for a long time as people that fall short in this tournament, making it to the national championship last year and losing. And finally, Duke is super dominant, but one of these regions is going to fall apart. And I got a 1-1 and a 3 so far. So if I'm going to pick one to fall apart, the East, which I gasped at initially at the grandeur of the great value of these teams, the talent, give me Kansas. I think Kansas and Darren Peterson bring it all together. I think Kansas comes out. So I guess I got 1-1, 3-4, and that's off the initial rip. I'll give you Kansas, Illinois, Michigan, and Arizona. And from that group, I keep doing it. I feel like I've done it probably 5 times in my life. I think Arizona is going to win a national championship at some point. They did so, I believe, about 25 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, early 2000s. Don't have the direct year, but give me Arizona. That's my gut at the rip as we get these revealed in the last 30 minutes here.
Yeah, I mean, for me, just looking at it, I mean, yeah, there's certainly some loaded regions here. But, yeah, I do have trouble trusting Arizona as well. I have trouble trusting Purdue. But, you know, so I think this could be a very good path for Wisconsin to actually be able to make it there with what they have. But I don't know if I'm going to be as bold should I be as bold to say Wisconsin will make the Final Four? Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, they certainly. I mean, just looking at this region. Okay, yeah. Arizona, we know they've had kind of struggles in these big games in the past. Purdue, you know, if it comes to it, I think Wisconsin can beat them. They've certainly done that. The 3-seed here, Gonzaga. You know, is Gonzaga really at the height that they once were? Playing out there in what are they? Mountain West, Big West, whatever conference they're in, or WCC, the West Coast Conference. Yeah, I mean, is that one really as strong as much as Gonzaga gets wins all the time? Arkansas, I mean, you're going to have to get through. I mean, Arkansas, I think, is a legit contender. But Wisconsin, maybe I should be that bold. You know what? Why not? Wisconsin, Final Four. Let's do it. They've proven they've got the ability to beat anyone. They can beat top 10 teams. They could beat Arkansas. They can beat Arizona. They could beat Purdue or Gonzaga if it comes to it. I think they absolutely could. So why not? Let's put Wisconsin there in the Final Four. Let's have some fun with it here. Let's be optimistic. And coming out of the East, I think Duke's just got too many good players. I'm not sure if Marquette could beat UConn. I'm pretty sure Duke could probably beat UConn there coming out of the East. It's a very strong group across the board, but Duke has got some players as well. And then looking at the other regions here, I'm going to go with Houston coming out of the South. I do like them and what they've been able to put together. Very strong group. Florida there is the 1 seed. Florida's probably the weakest 1 seed of this group. So I do like Houston coming out of there. And then looking at the Midwest region, man, I do think Michigan's just so good. They're going to be so tough to beat. So we could set up a Wisconsin-Michigan matchup in the Final Four over there. So yeah, I'm going to go with Michigan, Houston, Duke, and Wisconsin. So I've got 2 1s, a 2, and a 5 in my Final Four, with Wisconsin being that plucky Cinderella for my bracket this year. So that's again just off the rip. We'll see how once I dig into all of these matchups, even more where I end up going. But still, I think it's very possible for Wisconsin to make that run to the Final Four, provided they don't get tripped up here against High Point in the first round. We have seen when they play against top tier teams that they level up their game. They love being the villains. They love taking out the higher seeded teams. And so, being the 5, once you get past that first round, you're likely going to be facing higher seeded teams the rest of the way. So I like their chances.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by the East in this tournament. It is, it feels to me, and maybe it's just a product of different analytics, different ranking systems, different ways that they attack this thing when they're choosing where players or teams are going to stack up. But like the East from 1 through 5, I think any of them could win the region. I think that's the trouble that faces Duke, is that they're going to have to fight off some legitimate great rosters to get there. So they're the tip of the iceberg. Duke is as good as it gets. They have such a great team this season. Boozer's a spectacular player. I highlighted Acuff for Arkansas earlier as a top draft pick. This is a guy, Boozer, that's going to be right there. AJ DeBonta, who I said for BYU. Like, there are legitimate NBA talent players in this tournament, as always. It's just a matter of if those stars step up. And certainly I'd imagine someone who is kind of less heralded will go on such a run that they get overdrafted potentially coming up this summer in the NBA. And hey, maybe that ends up being a Badger. I think Nick Boyd is a guy that is definitely looking to raise his draft stock, get himself into the draft, in my opinion. And this is a player that we have now seen time and time again this season can take over 38 points 2 days ago. I'd love for it, man. Trust me. Yeah. I know I picked Arizona, but of course my heart's with the Badgers. Just win on Thursday, win on Saturday, and then we can start talking about some legitimate title runs. And maybe by then Arizona does what they've done many times in this tournament in recent history, and they've fumbled their opportunity. I would imagine that's either Utah State or Villanova who would knock them off. I'm not giving your LIU group any love here. I'm sorry, but that fins up stuff is those
videos are just hilarious.
And they're like borderline empty arena, fins up, here we go.
I know. It's like the yell leaders at Texas A&M back in like September when like everyone saw those. It's like, what is that? Like that's really what the thing is. But anyways, yeah. So yeah, see, there we go. Fins up. We'll see if LIU can actually get it done there, but I'm not necessarily going to predict that in my bracket. But the Badgers will play on Thursday against High Point in the West region. They will be out in Portland, Oregon. And of course, When that game is done, you can find Nick and I on the J&K Security Solutions basketball postgame show on 1310 WIBA in Madison. You can also find it on your iHeartRadio app if you aren't in the Madison area. But you can find us there. We'll be talking about and breaking down the game on Thursday as Badgers take on High Point out there. And hopefully we'll have a few more of these shows to do. Hopefully we'll have another weekend or two to be doing these shows. So very excited for that. Badgers 5 seed in the West taking on High Point. Thank you for joining us here for our selection show special here on Fox Sports Radio Wisconsin. And get ready to fill out those brackets. We'd love to see who your favorites are, who your favorite upsets are, who your Final Four picks are, and how far do you think the Badgers are going to end up going this year. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate you enjoying. He's Nick Bruesewitz. I'm Dave Gasper. Thank you for joining us here on our selection show special.